So it's been 6 days since the news, and I'd be lying to you if I told you that I'm alright. You know, I'm not. It's been really like this week has just been heartbreaking, gut wrenching, everything. We got the news of Kobe Bryant's passing. We heard that Gianna was on that helicopter too, and seven other people. And to this day, it still doesn't feel real. You know, Dwayne Wade said it best on that day. In his Instagram, he said that it just feels like a bad nightmare that you want to wake up from. And I think that what he said is basically how we're all kind of dealing with this right now. It doesn't feel real, Like hearing the words Kobe Bryant is dead doesn't still process in my head. And if I'm going to be honest, I don't know if it ever will. I don't know how hard this is for, obviously, my prayers to the families, to Vanessa, who lost a husband and a daughter, to those girls who lost a sister and their father. I can't imagine. I can't even begin to process what they're going through, what the Altabelli family's going through, what the Zabayan family's going through, what the Chester family's going through, what the Mauser family's going through. My heart is with all of them because this is gut wrenching, and the timing of it is also what is so weird for me because that Saturday night, on Saturday, we were talking about Kobe Bryant, and it was in the context of LeBron James and the Lakers were in Philly, which is, where Kobe grew up and stuff, and LeBron was playing there, and on that day, he passed Kobe on the all-time scoring list. He, got third on the all-time scoring list. And we were talking about it, We were talking about, oh my God, this is the day LeBron James is passing Kobe Bryant. This is historic. And if only we knew at that time that not even 24 hours later, we would learn that Kobe Bryant has passed away. Like, it doesn't process well. And I said it, I don't think it ever will. And I can't even imagine just, we're hurting. The entire NBA family's hurting. It's been a few days, so I've really wanted to talk about this sooner, but I really couldn't get myself to. It's been just incredibly difficult. And for this week, I've basically just spent a lot of my time, looking, I've seen all the social media posts from all the players and friends and family. I've seen all the coverage that's been done in the media. Some of it has been, I'm not going to lie, incredibly dangerous and irresponsible. The journalism that I've seen, especially on that day, it was appalling and abhorrent. But everything after that, when I saw the jump, I saw the NBA on TNT, I felt like, when watching that TNT special, they did an hour special pregame where they were just sitting there in the Staples Center, and we saw, Shaq was physically, you could tell, like, he was shedding tears, he was breaking down, and that's something we don't see from Shaquille O'Neal. For us, at least for me as a fan, he's this macho man, he's this, NBA legend who is so tough and so strong, because that's how I knew him as a player and as a man, and to see him in that way, see him so vulnerable, it was honestly just beautiful to watch. And then, we saw Jerry West speak on him, and we saw all the others, and, watching that TNT special really felt like a therapy session that I needed at that time, because the whole time I really wasn't able to process any of it, and watching those guys sit together and share stories and laugh and cry, like, I needed that, and I know that for a lot of people, seeing that is giving people a little bit more light in this dark patch that we're going through right now. I don't know if I'll ever be able to really fully grapple with this because, the timing of it is crazy and it still doesn't feel real, and I don't think it ever will. And, we hear, like, the whole thing is just unbelievable. I could talk a lot about the life of Kobe Bryant. It's, for me, it's huge. Kobe Bryant, I was an 8-year-old kid when I started falling in love with the game of basketball, 8 years old, and when I was 9 years old, that's when I started regularly watching the NBA. And I remember one of the first games I watched as an NBA fan. It was 2009, and one of the first games I watched as an NBA fan was the Lakers and the Heat in Staples Center, and it was the game where Kobe Bryant hit that game-winning three over D Wade. And I remember watching that game. I was 9 years old, and I just remember being in awe at how amazing this guy was, because I was too young to watch the early Lakers runs, the early 2000s runs. So when I saw this guy, I'm like, wow, Kobe Bryant. Like, I heard that name before at that time, but I didn't really fully understand just how amazing of a player he was until I started watching him. He was one of the first players that I regularly started following, because I didn't grow up watching Jordan, that was before my time, I remember my dad would tell me stories of watching the 90s Bulls, he would talk about how amazing it was to watch those Bulls at the time, and how it was how amazing the city of Chicago was at that time. And then, I grew up, and Kobe for me was that guy, I don't want to do the comparisons of Kobe, Jordan, LeBron. I'm done with that comparison stuff, and I hope that everyone else is, because right now the important thing for me is just appreciating the talent that we have. And I remember watching Kobe and just thinking, wow, this is amazing. And I thought about it, and I'm like, the way I'm watching Kobe and how mesmerized I am as a little kid, I could imagine, my dad or other kids in the 90s watching Jordan that way. So I felt that kind of relationship, and when I see the impact that Jordan had on the Bulls and the city of Chicago in general, me being from Chicago, I can't imagine kids in my age who are, I can't imagine the impact that Kobe Bryant had in the city of Los Angeles, For a guy to spend an entire career for the same team alone is something impressive, but to do it in the way he did is unreal. I mean, we talk about how great he is because no other player has 2 jerseys retired for the same team. Only Kobe Bryant has that. And I think that I can't imagine what the city of LA is going through right now. It's the way, that's my upbringing, Basketball was my upbringing. Kobe Bryant was the guy. I grew up watching him just at the right time when he was starting to make those late championship runs. And I couldn't be more grateful of all of that, because watching him play at that young age gave me a sense of hope. I'm like, wow, this guy is amazing. I can do this too. Obviously, I'm not some great basketball player. I haven't played in years, but it was still so mesmerizing to watch, It felt like I was watching art. Kobe Bryant later in his years, he would talk about, how the game of basketball for him was like an art form. And when you watch him play, you can actually get that sense, in the way he plays. It actually was like you were watching art in motion. So, me being 9 years old watching him, it was incredible. And I'm 20 years old now, and I can't imagine, those kids, the impact he had on my generation, is unbelievable, because for a lot of people my age, we didn't grow up watching Jordan. It was before our time. So the Jordan-like player, in terms of that one player that the entire league is watching, for me, that was Kobe Bryant, and hearing that he's gone now, it still doesn't register with my head. And obviously, the even more gut-wrenching thing is when you hear that Gianna was on that helicopter with him too. I mean, we've seen the Instagram, like just last month, the both of them were at a Lakers game, and we were seeing them, goof around and talk to LeBron and talk to Kuzma and whatever, talk to Luka. So we saw all of that, and just a month ago we were seeing that video of Kobe and Gianna at a Nets game. That video where Kobe's like talking to Gianna, explaining something, and Gianna's like saying something back, and Kobe's like smiling. We were just talking about that. We were just making memes out of that. And I don't think that, like, when I watch that video now, like when I watched that video before, it was a meme, so I would laugh. But when I watch this video now, like, I don't know how I can. I don't know how I can get myself to watch that kind of video again, because knowing that they're no longer with us is fucking awful. I can't imagine, what other players are going through. There was a lot of irresponsible journalism on that day, on Sunday, when we heard about the news. Like, some reporter said that Rick Fox was on the plane, and everyone started freaking out. And I got worried when I heard that. When there was a report that Rick Fox was on the plane, I freaked the fuck out, because I'm like, wow, not only was Kobe in there, but another significant figure, or not even that. I don't want to say that because that sounds fucking awful, but it was still gut-wrenching, And I'm so glad that he went on TNT and he was able to share his story of what it was like to basically get involved in this, because the media put him. There was some media reporter who said that Rick Fox was in there, and when you hear Rick talk about how what his family went through thinking that Rick Fox is dead, knowing he isn't, he's perfectly okay, but that immediate reaction is the most gut-wrenching thing ever. And the fact that that happened in the first place, that irresponsible reporting, that irresponsible journalism, is unbelievable. And I hope that whoever did that is fired immediately, because not only are you wrong, which is already bad, because when you do that, you're clearly showing that as a journalist, you don't care about being right. You care about being first, even if you're wrong. And you were fucking plain wrong. And you put a lot of trauma. You put a lot of people through a lot of trauma because of your irresponsible journalism. All of that because you wanted to be fucking first. And instead you were dead wrong. And you destroyed a lot of people. And I think it's fucking awful what happened there. And I hope that journalist is suspended or fired, because that you cannot do shit like that. I could go on and talk about, some of my favorite Kobe memories, I have a lot, that last game, they were showing, on ESPN just a couple days ago, they were airing that last game, and it was hard to watch, but I couldn't help but put a smile on my face when I watched it, because it just reminded me of, this was what he did. He gave it his all the way to the very end of his life, to the end of his basketball career. He gave it his all. That Mamba mentality that we always talk about, he lived. Imagine what he did, not only in his basketball life, but after, we all saw what he was doing, Dear Basketball was an incredibly powerful short film, and he got an Oscar for that he rightly deserved, because it was a work of art what he did. And when I saw that, I'm like, wow, he was not only one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but he can do so much more. Like, we obviously saw him coaching he was coaching the basketball team, Gianna's basketball team. He was coaching them, He was a huge advocate for women's sports in general. He was making these short films. I remember on ESPN Plus, he did this thing called Detail, where he basically was like an NBA scout almost, where he would take an NBA player and go into all the nitty and gritty of all of like the detail. Like, he would go into real detail about the players and how they would react. He would look at plays. He would watch off-ball movements and on-ball movements, and he would do all of that. And I remember when he would do that, NBA players would talk about, oh yeah, I watched that. Kobe Bryant's detail, yeah, I watched that, so I know what for example, Joel Embiid is doing when he's on the post. Examples like that. That's the guy he was. He had a show called Detail. He had Dear Basketball. He was coaching Gianna's team. This guy had a whole second life ahead of him. He was just starting to become not a real father, but, you could see that relationship with his family was starting to grow even more and more after his NBA career. They just had a daughter. 6-7 months ago, they just had Capri, and Capri, she has her father's middle name, Capri Kobe Bryant. And she's gonna grow up to not know anything about her father or one of her older sisters. Bianca is, I think, 3 years old. She's not gonna get a lot of memories of her father or her big sister. I know that Natalia's the oldest. I can't imagine what she's going through. She lost a father and a little sister. That, to me, is gut-wrenching. That family went through a lot. The Altabelli family, a baseball coach, a baseball coach, his wife and daughter are leaving behind 2 kids. I can't imagine. There's a lot of tragedy. These families are hurting. The NBA family's hurting. When I look out and when I see the coverage of what's going on in LA right now, in the Staples Center and your LA Live, the memorials, the flowers, the shoes, the walls, the murals, it's honestly it puts a smile on my face seeing A, how much of an impact he had on the city, and B, the way people have come together in wake of this kind of tragedy, and we talk a lot of, and for me, we see a lot of it in the news of people coming together after tragedy, and it shouldn't, from my view, it shouldn't have to take a tragedy for people to come together in this way, but watching people come together, hug each other, embrace each other, show the appreciation they have, I feel like that's the kind of energy that we need to have no matter what's going on in our lives, and I know Kobe would love that, and I'm gonna miss him, I'm gonna miss those Instagram posts of him goofing off with the kids. I'm gonna miss watching him. I'm gonna miss seeing him at those Lakers games goofing off with the players. I'm gonna miss those videos of Gianna Bryant going, playing basketball, because she was pretty damn good. Let's be honest. 13 years old. She was a very talented basketball player who would have been the face of the WNBA, guaranteed. If she had gone on to the WNBA, which I think she would have really gave the WNBA a huge boost, especially with Kobe being such a huge advocate for women's sports, I think that it would have been beautiful to watch, but we're not going to get that, we're not going to get that. We're not going to get the Hall of Fame speech later this year, he was on the ballot for the Hall of Fame, I was excited because I thought, wow, Kobe is going to be in the Hall of Fame this year. I know that speech he's going to give is going to be fire. We're not going to get that, He's going to be a Hall of Famer, but we're not going to get that speech, and that's going to hurt. I know for me, at least. I've never gone through real grief in my life, and I've been very blessed to deal with that, but this was hard. I'm not even going to lie. I even thought about it myself. I'm like, why am I so emotional over the death of someone that I don't know? I don't have any personal relationship with Kobe. He's not my friend. He's not a relative. He's just a guy I watched on TV. But the more I thought about it, the more I reflected. I'm like, no, it's more than that. He was not only an idol for me as a basketball player, but as a person. The Mamba mentality that he had was something that I loved, And I saw the way he applied it to basketball. I saw the way he applied it to art, to creativity, to his storytelling. And it's heartbreaking that we're not going to be able to get any of that. And I'm going to miss those interviews he did. I'm going to miss all of that, man. It's still hard for me to really grasp. And I know for you, I know for me, I don't think this will ever sit well with me. This has been hard. I think it's an understatement, honestly, to state how hard this is and how hard this will be. You know, the Lakers game was last night. I think the Lakers organization did an incredible job with that tribute. You know, you had Usher singing Amazing Grace, was powerful. I had goosebumps. You know, they had Boys to Men doing the national anthem, and you saw LeBron James visibly tearing up. You saw the unbelievable video tribute they did. That honestly, I could not watch halfway through that without tearing up. You know, you saw LeBron, he gave a speech. You know, he had something on his, he said that he had a speech and he like threw that shit away. And he's like, nah, fuck that. I'm going off the cuff, which I loved. I think the Lakers organization did a really good job in their tribute last night, you know. And I think the hard thing is, how do we move on? How are the players going to move on? You know, Kyrie Irving, who I was so heartbroken for, you know, on that day, on Sunday, they were playing the Knicks, and he was at the Garden, and he left. And I was worried about him, genuinely, because I'm like, man, I know this guy had a really close relationship with Kobe, so I couldn't imagine what he's going through, you know? And I'm so glad that he came back, and he played very well that first game he came back. And last night, the guy dropped 54 on the Bulls, which I'm hurt about, but I mean, I'm just glad to see him doing well, you know? And I think that this whole situation is going to ignite a fire, not just in the Lakers, because everyone's talking about, oh, this is going to give the Lakers a spark to win the championship and all that. And I believe all that, but more than that, I feel like just players in general are going to feel a spark and a motivation to really do their best, to really give it their all every time they're on that court. And I mean, for the fans, anytime the players can give it their best is always good for us, but I know that for the players, it's going to be good for them too as well, knowing that they're giving it their all every night, knowing that Kobe is watching down on them, you know. I hope the NBA can get past this. I know we will, but I know it's going to be hard. But in this whole situation, that's everything that's gone on in these 6 days. Today's the first day where I've kind of started to really fully grasp and understand that, you know what, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. We're going to, you know, it's going to be difficult, but, you know, I think that life moves on, and I think that the way that we've reacted so far, I think we're going to be able to move on from this, and I know that's what Kobe would want, you know. We would just want to move on, so that's basically it. I just wanted to share my thoughts, so yeah, that's basically it. Rest in peace, Kobe. Rest in peace, Gianna. Rest in peace to the other 7 who were on that flight. My prayers are with those families. May God protect you all. Kobe, thank you for everything you've done. I'll never forget you. You were an inspiration to me and to many others, and I promise you I will continue to live with that Mamba mentality. Rest in peace.